Hello and welcome back to Coleslaw of My Consciousness. Today I actually have kind of a special piece. It's one that's based on my group's writing prompt for September. However, unlike other times when I've done this, I was actually like super inspired by this prompt for whatever reason. So I actually have three separate pieces that I wrote. All of them are fairly short, so I'm just gonna throw them all in here. But yeah, I have three pieces to share with you. A little bit of context. Two of them are from the same story, at different points in the story. One will be an earlier point in that story, and one a later point in that story. And fun fact about all of it, this particular story is one that I haven't thought about since like 2010, or at least not tried working on since like 2010. So, not only did this prompt super inspire me to write three pieces for it, but it also got me going on a story that I had kind of shelved and I kind of want to rework now and, update and things since the last time I wrote it was so many years ago, and rereading it, I'm like, I still like the idea, but I don't like how I wrote it. So, anyways, I have those two pieces, and then one that's a more modern piece that's not related to any story and is just kind of a one off that the prompt inspired me to. So, after all of that, what exactly is this crazy inspiring prompt, you may ask? It's just a one sentence prompt. This month's prompt was "The sword on her belt made an impression." So, it kind of surprised me that I had this many ideas come from it since it was just one sentence, but it was just the directions that I wanted to take it. I was debating at first if I wanted to do the more modern piece I was thinking of or just work on a story piece from that story that it made me think of, and I was like, oh, that would fit into that. And then the second piece kind of came as I wrote in that story, and then I was like, oh, there's another instance that I could do that too. And then I was like, what the heck, I already have two pieces, I may as well write that third one that's that modern piece as well. So anyways, now that I've babbled on and on for a few minutes about this prompt, how about we get into the actual pieces that I wrote for it. I'm gonna start first with the story-based one that's the earlier part of the story, and then I'll let you know when I'm switching into the second piece, which will be the sort of part two of that story, I guess, but the older, later part of the story, and then I'll do the modern piece as the last little bit. So, let's get into this. The sword on her belt made an impression. Nymph swallowed nervously at the sight of it. Why? Celine stepped forward and cut him off, taking his hand in hers. They're sending me away for a year. I'll be training in the fife of Baccaville. It's the last stage of training. To become a knight, everyone must do it. Nymph's heart and stomach dropped. A whole year? But what will I do here without you? Baccaville is so far away. Celine smiled, a pained smile. You know, when I first came here, the only thing I wanted was to be a knight and avoid my parents' expectations of an early marriage. It's almost strange that if I could, I'd be willing to give it all up. She paused, making very deliberate eye contact. If it meant that I was going to become your wife. Her grip tightened on his hand. Nymph's grip tightened in response. Since he had taken her to the mage's tower, it was Celine's first admittance to having an interest in pursuing his proposal. Feeling a slight sense of daring, he pursued. Then you must do your best to make your way back to me. No running off in the face of frivolous dangers, so you might be capable of returning and becoming my wife in a year's time. Why not now? You could come with me. Nymph shook his head. I'm caught up in teaching new acolytes at the tower. The queen would likely have me hanged if I dared leave a role bestowed by her before its duration was past. Life certainly isn't very tidy anymore, is it? It's part of growing up, I've been told. Nymph's thoughts drifted to his sister Nylion and the many lectures they'd had on such matters before being sent to the castle. All those years ago. All right, so that's piece number 1. And I'll jump right into piece number 2 now. Again, it's from that same story, so the character names are going to be very familiar, but it's a bit later in the story. So maybe you'll be able to pick up on that just from the context, but I figured it never hurts to have the heads up. So, piece number 2. The sword on her belt made an impression. Nymph took Celine's hands, trying not to show the melancholy he felt. You'll always be able to take my breath away. Celine smiled tightly, likely sensing his anguish despite his efforts to hide it. I can't take any chances, not after the attack the last time we were on the road. Nymph nodded. It still seemed miraculous that Celine had survived at that encounter, though she would carry scars of it for the rest of her life. I only wish that I could go with you. I know, but your place is here. Nyleon needs the support of her family. I wouldn't be leaving, except that it's a decree from the king himself. Nymph squeezed her hands tightly, wishing there were a better protection he could give. Stay to the roads. Be safe. Their magical upkeep should be an aid against attacks like the one from before. Celine nodded and gently pulled her hands free. And now, my dear husband, I must leave before this goodbye becomes any more impossible. Celine backed away from the room, tears pricking her eyes that never left his until there was a door that shut between them. Nymph raced to the window and desperately watched. A few minutes passed before she mounted the horse that had been prepared for her and galloped away. Nymph looked away. Once she disappeared amongst the trees. He went in search of his sister. They could both use the comfort of family on this long and lonely night. So that's piece number 2. Again, they are all kind of short, so hopefully they're still interesting and kind of fun, and maybe something that you'll like seeing all the things I've done with. But yeah, so now on to my final piece. This one, again, is not involved in that story that those other 2 were at all. This one's more of a modern piece and a modern take on something that I thought would be kind of comical almost from it, instead of being all serious. Oh, it's a fantasy with swords and stuff. So, anyways, piece number 3. The sword on her belt left an impression. You're going all out this year, aren't you? Stacy shrugged with a slight blush. Well, I figured Comic-Con only comes once a year. May as well have fun with it. I nodded. Is it a costume from something then? Stacy shook her head. No, I wish it was. Mostly, I just threw together some stuff of Johnny's from all his LARPing gear. Seemed a fun way to go about it. Plus, I'm not super crazy about any fandoms. Well, either way, that sword looks great on you, like you stepped out of another time. Thanks. Hopefully it'll be a hit at the convention as well. I'm sure it will. When are you heading out? Couple more minutes. Just need to finish pinning back my hair. Did you want to come? I shook my head. I don't quite have the money, and crowds aren't really my thing anyways. You sure? Positive. But thanks for the offer. I'll make sure your homework's all finished by the time you get back. No sense failing your classes because you took time off for a comic convention. I winked. Stacy rolled her eyes and glanced in the mirror one last time. Well, I guess I'm off then. Try not to have too much fun while I'm gone. And that is piece number 3. So if you have any thoughts or feelings, feel free to comment down below. Anything that you think could be improved, if you like the stories, all that kind of thing. I'm open for criticism, compliments, I just want to hear feedback. So let me know if you liked any of the pieces, if you think any have potential to become fully fleshed out as scenes in some story somewhere. Yeah, but I think that's all I've got for now. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and this is the Umlaut Herper signing out.